So this is the album we're going to make today. I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough so that you know what you're setting yourself up for. This is an 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. It has a 3/4 of an inch spine. Okay, and it's a very simple album. It's going to be very quick to put together. It's got just a little pocket page in the front. When we open up, we have a belly band, another pocket page, a little pull out here. Okay, and then we go over to the right. We have a little pocket that holds down these 4x4 waterfalls, and that's essentially the project. Okay, so I have a little bit of a strange setup today because I don't know, I broke my gooseneck. But anyways, hopefully this works because I wanted to get this video together for you guys before Christmas. Not that there's a ton of time left to make it, but I suspect people might be crafting over the holidays. And I just wanted to show you what I'm going to do with my leftovers from the Echo Park Winnie the Pooh Christmas paper. So I made that little album last week, and now I have a bunch of leftovers, which are mostly cut aparts and then some of the pattern sheets. So I thought I would make a cute little 8x8 folio. So all you're going to need is the leftovers. If you actually are starting from scratch, then you can use whatever paper you have, but it's a good way. This is a good way to get rid of some of this paper and then use up the rest for cards. So that's the paper line. But we're going to create the base first. And for the base, I'm using 110-pound cardstock because this is just a 1 8x8 very simple fold open folio. So the whole thing will be made from this paper, which is the 110-pound, and I'm using black in this case. So let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to say you're going to need maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably have 10 sheets of this on hand. I don't think we're going to use it all, but that's a place where I would start. So first thing we're going to do is just talk about some of the rules of how I do my videos. So always I will read to you the measurements height by width. So that's the first rule. And then the second rule is we're just going to build as we go. Okay, so I'm going to open up my paper trimmer. Mine has a scoring blade on it as well, so you won't see me flip back and forth through tools, but of course if you have a scoreboard, then use that. I just like to use this for videos because it's faster. The other stuff I'm going to use is double-sided tape, some glue, and I always use this art glitter, but any clear drying glue will do. We're also going to need some foam tape, and if you don't have foam tape, there's another way to deal with lifting things up by just using cardstock or chipboard, heavy chipboard. And then I just have a pokey tool to lift off my double-sided tape. But anyways, that's the easy part. Let's get started with the even easier part. So first thing you're going to do is let's create the outside of the folio. So first we're going to measure out a piece that measures 8 1/4 by 9 1/2. So I'm actually going to cut it this way so I can make sure I get my 9 1/2 out of this sheet of paper because it's 11 1/4 by 8. Whatever that measurement is. Anyways, 8 1/4 by 9 1/2. That's your first sheet. Okay. And this is going to be the left side where I'm actually, this is the side that we're going to use as the spine and the attachment piece. So what I want you to do is, let me just double check what I'm doing. Okay, I want to score along this side, so I want to score up and down, so I'm going to run my longer side, my 9 1/2 inch side, along the edge of the scoreboard, right? And then I'm going to score this out at 1/2 inch, so 1/2 inch, and then at 1 1/4 inches. So that gives me 1/2 inch to attach the covers, and then 3/4 of an inch spine. And a bone folder would be really good here. I'm going to grab mine later, but if you don't have one, you can definitely use your fingers. You do want it to be nicely creased. Okay, so there's our front cover, and now really simple, our back cover is just 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. So let's cut that down. Okay, and now we can go ahead and attach those pieces. So I'm going to run my double-sided tape along the inside here. Okay, and then just grab, if you're using a pokey tool, I'm just going to grab this, take back one corner of it just so you can see what's happening, and then get your back side and line it up along the score line, not covering the score line, because you want this to fold nicely. So just line that up along the score line and then slowly pull your tape out. Okay, so there we go for the outside. Now we're going to make this inside flap, but before I do, I need to cover this piece in patterned paper. So my inside flap is going to measure 7 1/4 by 7 1/4, I think. Yes. And I want to cover this with patterned paper before I stick it down. So let me show you what to do with that, because what I don't want is, I don't want to waste paper, and I'm going to cover most of it with a flap. So maybe let's cut out the flap first, and then I'll show you what we're going to do. So grab another piece of your heavy cardstock and cut this down to 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. So this is your first piece. You're going to need 2 pieces here, okay? So 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. And we're kind of doing exactly what we just did, except in a smaller version, okay? So just set that to the side, and then cut another piece that's 7 1/4 by 7 3/4. Okay? So 7 1/4 by 7 3/4. There you go. All right, and then this one that's longer, we're going to score this at 1/2 inch. So your 7 3/4 inch side is along the edge of your scoreboard, and you're scoring it at 1/2 inch. Okay, so once you fold that over, this also is 7 1/4 by 7 1/4, and then we're just going to attach these 2 pieces. So grab my double-sided tape again. Again, I'm going on the inside of the fold, like that. Okay, and now I'm just going to simply attach this card, because it's a fold out. There we go. So this will get glued down to the inside of the cover. And you can cover this with patterned paper, but I wouldn't want to cover the whole sheet because this will sit on top of it and hide it. So we're going to cut a sheet to fit here that's 8 by 8, and then I'm going to cut out the inside so that I can use it somewhere else. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So grab your patterned paper that you want to use for here, and I'll need to grab one of my full sheets. So I'm going to use this patterned paper in the background. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut this down to 8 by 8. Okay. So there's 8 by 8. Okay. And now I really only need it to be big enough so that it can tuck under here, right? So this is, so if I cut out an inner square that's 1 inch from each side of this, I will preserve the inside of this. So that's what I'm going to do. Actually, I'm going to cut it at 3/4 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is first line up my blade, my paper, so that I'm at, here is 3/4 of an inch, okay? And I'm going to go with my blade and measure up from the bottom 3/4 of an inch. Okay. So I'm starting my blade at 3/4 of an inch here, and I'm going to slide it all the way up so that I have 3/4 of an inch left from the top, which means I'm cutting it up to 7 1/4. Okay. So now I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going out to 3/4 of an inch. I'm starting at 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going up to 7 1/4. So same thing again, all the way around until we can take out the inner square. Like that. Okay. So you might need to just pull that out. And so now I can bring back my folio base here and stick this down around. This will have a 1/8 of an inch on each side. And then when I stick this on top, I haven't really wasted any of my pattern paper, but I still get to have this beautiful pattern. And then this is perfect to use elsewhere in this album. So we're just going to set that to the side and go ahead and put this in. I'm going to move my blade out of the way for a second. I'll just slide it over. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to stick my pattern paper down now on the left-hand side. Okay, I'm using my liquid glue now. I usually use my glue when I'm putting on my patterned paper. Just give me a second, guys. It's a little bit clogged. Okay. There we go. Just a thin bead around the edges. You don't need to put any kind of on the inside edge because it's all getting covered with the other cardstock, so it's going to be plenty strong. Okay, so I'm going to flip this, make sure it's the right way. And just lay this down like so. Perfect. And now I can bring in this piece that we just cut and stick this down. Now this one I'm going to do a combo of double-sided tape and glue. So I'm going to go with the double-sided tape very close to the edge on all 4 sides. Okay, and then I'll put some glue in the center just to keep it, give it some extra strength. So this is a great one again, like I'm trying to do ones that are easy to put together because, and if you need a last minute gift, this is great for a teacher, although I think by the time I put this up, school will be done, but anyways, you get it. Okay, so now I'm going to stick this down in the center. Okay, and that's that. Okay, now I'm making a pocket for the inside, and I want this to be, I'm going to do 2 pockets actually. I'm going to do a pocket on the outside and then cards will slide in. So I want to do a vertical pocket. So let's move this aside and cut out our pocket. Okay, so we're going to make 2 pockets and the pockets are going to measure 3.5 by 8 1/4. So I'm going to see if this is long enough. Yes, this is perfect. Okay, just go back. Always check your scraps and your offcuts. So this is 3.5 by 8 1/4 is what we're cutting right now. So there's 3.5 by 8 1/4. And you're going to score this around 3 sides to make the pocket. So along the 2 short sides and the long side at 1/2 inch. So let's go ahead and score that. And 3. Okay, and now your scoring, your bone folder here would come in quite handy. Okay, so you're just going to fold across all those score lines. And then just grab your scissors, and what we're going to do is cut across. We're going to cut diagonal so we don't have bulk. So all I'm doing is cutting across where these 2 lines meet. I'm going directly across. So it's going to be right here. Okay. That is so that when I fold these up and go to stick it down, I don't have all this bulk in the corners. So it's hard to see with dark paper, but hopefully you can see that. Okay, so fold those down and bring in your double-sided tape. And let's go ahead and put the double-sided tape down on the 3 sides here. You can make a pocket without doing this 1/2 inch around. It won't fit. It won't be as loose getting your paper or whatever, your photos in there. This gives you just a little bit more space. Okay. And so there's one, and let's do the other one just so that that's out of the way. So I'm going to grab another piece of my black heavy cardstock. Okay, and I'm going to cut this again to 3.5 by 8 1/4. Three and a half by 8 1/4 again, and then again score that on the 3 sides and do the exact same thing that we just did. I'm going back and forth a couple of times because this is really thick paper. Normally I would not do this on a regular cardstock because it would just rip through. Okay, so again we're going to cut off those corners. Okay, and let's fold them down. Again, I'm just going to do this for speed, but use your bone folder here. Okay, and now we can, again, let's go in with our double-sided tape. Go. Okay, so we have our 2 pockets ready. So I'll bring back the base. And these pockets, this one is going right on the outside, on the inside of the folder. We're going to put it right here. Just going to take these off. Okay, and we're just going to stick this down end to end. Very simple. So we've got our pocket. There's our pocket here. Okay, and then we can do the same thing on the front. Now here, it's your choice. We can put the pocket across the bottom, or we can put it sideways as well. Okay, up to you. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to go and be different. On this one, I will put it along the bottom. So if you don't like the side pocket, you can do it along the bottom on both pieces. It's really whatever you like. Okay, so here we'll put it across the bottom. When I tell you, like, we're almost finished, you can't believe how quick this little one brings itself together. Okay, so now I've got a pocket, and I want to do a belly band here, but we're going to do that later after we put our patterned paper on. Okay, so now let's talk about the right hand side. The right hand side is going to have waterfalls, and I'm using I had a bunch of these left over. Let me grab it. Yes, I have these 4x4 squares left over, and I never know what to do with them. And I thought, oh, I can do a side-by-side waterfall. So we're going to do three waterfalls per side in a 4x4 size. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut out our waterfall pieces. Then we'll bring this back. So for this, you're going to cut 6 of these, and they're going to measure 4 1/4 by 4. Sorry, 4 1/2 rather. 4 1/2 by 4. Okay, so 4 1/2 by 4. So I think, yes, this paper is a little over 8. It's 8 1/4. Okay, so 4 1/2 by 4. Let's cut down 4 1/2. Oops. So 6 of these, 4 1/2 by 4. I'm doing all my 4 1/2 right now at the same time. Okay. By 4. And then I'm going to just do one, and then you can come back, do the rest, do 6 of these. But so I've got this now. It's 4 1/2 by 4. I'm going to turn it sideways so my 4 1/2 side is along the edge of the scoreboard. And now I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch. Okay. So score at 1/2 inch, fold it back, and put your double-sided tape on the outside of the fold this time. Okay. So you can pause the video here and make 5 more of these, and then we'll put them in the album when you come back. So let's do that now. Okay, so while we did that, I actually covered mine with my 6x6 cards, which you can do before or after. I usually do it after, but again, I just want to show you this album decorated. So I'm going to line these up. They're going to go here and here. So I've got a little bit of space on each side. So you're going to go in about an eighth of an inch from the side and top, okay, for the first card. So I'm trying to figure out, I love this one. So this is definitely going up on top. So you're going to just peel the back. And like I said, we're sticking this down 1/4 of an inch from the top and from the side. 1/8, not 1/4. Why I want to keep saying 1/4. Okay, so there's our first card down, and then we'll put the next one down next to it. So if you did that, you should have a tiny bit of space. They're almost touching. You can actually have them touching if you like, but they should be free to move separately. So pick whichever pattern you like, or if you're doing it later, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to use, I think, they're all cute. I'm going to go with this one though. Okay, so I'm doing them side by side first because I want them to be lined up together this way, and then I will stick the ones underneath. So the order is actually important. So there's the first 2. And now I can come in with the other ones. So I'm going to go with this one next. So we're just going to flip back the corner. And you're going to butt this up against the card, the first card. And then before you stick it down, just make sure it's lined up. Like so. Pull out the backing. And then we can do the third one. So again, line that up. End to end, I just fold the cards down on top to make sure they're actually lined up. I'm going to put this white paper underneath so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just checking that these sides are lined up. It just needs to maybe come over a smidgen, maybe. That looks good. Okay, and then I have some double-sided tape kind of sticking out here. It was extra, but you can just push it back and we'll cover that anyways later. All right, so now on this side, I'm going to alternate my pattern. I don't want, so see I have white, green, white. So now I have red and white and then a pattern, a color. Okay, so this will go here. Okay, again, just checking that it's lined up. And the last one. This works a little bit. All right, that looks good. All right, so now I have about 3 waterfalls on each side, and I'm going to make my pocket for the bottom. Now this is just a single pocket. I mean, we're not going to cut around it like we did for the other one. Okay, so for this pocket, we're just going to cut a piece that's 1 3/4 tall by 8 1/4 inches wide. So 1 3/4 by 8 1/4. Oops, lost my glue. There we go. 1 3/4 by 8 1/4. I'm cutting my 8 1/4 first because I just want to make sure this piece was big enough. So 1 3/4. Okay, so just put that there for a second. And now you're going to cut out a card that's 7 1/4 by 7 1/4 out of your cardstock. Okay, so now let's show you what we're going to do. Excuse me. I'll bring back my base. So first I'm going to stick the pocket down, and it's just going right across the bottom of the page. Okay, so I'm just going to use glue. You may use double-sided tape, but I'm putting glue down the 3 sides. And we'll just stick this down here. Okay, I'm just gonna go around. Okay, that's all we're doing, because this is only gonna hold this card, whose sole purpose is to keep down the waterfall. I mean, it's gonna lift up a little bit, but it's so that when you open your album, everything's not kind of flopping around. You sort of open it up and you'll have this card here, and you can pull that out. Okay, so that's it. All we need now is to cut the belly band, but we need to put our patterned paper on first. But let's do the outside of the album, because for the outside, remember, we're closing this with ribbon, so I want to show you how to do that. So grab a piece of ribbon, and usually what I do is I measure it to be three or 4 times the width of the album. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is about 32 inches or so, 33 inches roughly. Okay, so I can trim that more nicely later. And for now, all I want to do is make sure that the album, I have enough ribbon so that I can tie a bow here. Perfect. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and stick this ribbon down first, because I'm going to cover this with patterned paper at some point, and the ribbon is just going to be off to the side. So I'm just using some glue just so I can secure it in the place it needs to be. So when I go to cover the album, I know my ribbon is done and it's in its spot. Okay, so that's your ribbon. So that will close this little album for us. And now I really like this ribbon. So one thing you can do is you don't actually have to cover it up. Now, if you're going to choose not to cover it, do make sure that you stick it down straight. And you might want to use double-sided tape for it as well. Okay. But now I can just use different patterns on the top and the bottom, which is great because I said I really only had scraps left over. So I'm going to take a look through my scraps and see. I've got this beautiful plaid. That's not big enough, but this one sure is. So I can use some plaid at the bottom. I can do a whole bunch of different things with whatever I've got left from my patterned papers. So that's that. I'm going to just do one more thing here. Before we decorate the cover, we are actually going to make another little feature sticking out here, which is for the leftover 3x4 cards. So this one's really cute. So let's grab your trimmer again and grab your cardstock. Okay, and you're going to make this accordion pull out, and it's 4 1/4 by 10 1/4. So you might need a new sheet here. Okay, so 4 1/4 tall. So we're going to make sure you put your paper the right way so you don't waste it. And then cut it down to 10 1/4. Okay, so that's the piece. Now what you're going to do with this is you're going to score this at half. So let's start with a score mark at half. This is where it's being attached to where it's going. So just fold that in. Okay. I'm going to flip it so I can see better. But you're going to score half, and then you're going to score at 3 3/4. Okay. And then you're going to score it at 7. Okay. And then you're going to fold it on its score lines like an accordion. Okay, and where does this go? So we can bring our album back and we open it up, and oh, it seems like it's bending a little. Just bend it back. It's going to be right here, attached to this pocket. Okay, and it's going to open up. Sorry, I'm just trying to see what I'm doing. Yeah, so we're going to attach it to this pocket, and then we have this cute little feature that opens and closes. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Now, I'm just trying to think of which way. I think I'm going to attach it this way. Maybe I'm going to do this. Let me think, guys. No, we're attaching it to the pocket the way I said. Yeah. Okay, so what you're going to do here is put some glue or some double-sided tape down the inside of the fold, and then slide this under. I think actually I'm going to put it down here at the bottom, and I'm just going to glue it in right there. And it's just some extra space for photos and what have you, and we can secure it with a paper clip later so it doesn't flop out. But I love that because that'll let us use up some of our 3x4 cards, which I also had left over. So let me just show you. So the 3x4 cards fit beautifully on top of here. So I'm going to go ahead and put one on so you can see that now too. Just need to trim a little bit off the edge of this one. Didn't like the way that looked. Okay, so, it came undone. So let's use double-sided tape instead. If it came undone, I think I just didn't hold it long enough because I'm trying to be efficient in this video. Okay, let's try that again. So I'm just ripping all of it off there. I'm going to tuck it under all the way down to the edge of the pocket, and then we'll fold it over. And yes, that's never going to come out now. Okay, and now I can put this card on top, or whatever card you want, but I'm using up my 3x4s here. I'm not going to put a 3x4 on every surface of this, but I will use a couple and leave the rest of the space empty for 3x4 photos. But isn't that sweet? Now you've got a new space for pictures, and you can even put a picture here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Although I am going to put another one of these decorative cards, 1 or 2 in there. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so far, this is great. If you're going to leave this blank, like I talked about, I want to show you that you have to use double-sided tape. Otherwise, your glue will show through. So whatever you want to do it. In fact, I'm going to do a redo of this with the double-sided tape, just to show you the difference. Okay, but if you're covering it up, as mostly we do, it doesn't not matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I will definitely reuse this for something else. Not a big deal. Okay, but I want to show you the alternate. So again, I'm going to just measure out about 4 times. 2, 3, 4. Cut that. Try to find where it did with my scissors. Okay. And now instead, where I had the glue along the center, I will just run my double-sided tape. And it's actually better if you use double-sided tape because you can make sure you put it in a straight line. Okay, I'm going to go right around back as well. And the back I'm probably going to cover with just a whole sheet of paper, but so I know I had 8 inches that I'd left to tie, so that's going to go here. I can flip it over And put down the rest of the ribbon. There. Perfect. Okay, now we can go ahead and do the rest of the album. So in fact, you're finished with the pieces that we're cutting. So the rest is just decorating. So again, take a look at what you have left over and decide what you want for your front cover and whether you want it to be something like a whole thing, a whole sheet of paper or bits and pieces, but make sure you kind of preserve them. So I really know I wanted to put this card on the front. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that down first. Okay. And I'm going to mat it on black because it will pop much more nicely if we have it matted. So I'm just going to grab some extra black. And what I usually do is I figure out, I mean, how much mat do I want? In this case, I want about 1/4 inch all around. So I'll stick that down. And then I can trim off the other side. So this is usually how I do my matting. I don't measure per se the paper. I just kind of stick what I'm matting onto the piece and then cut around it, if that makes sense. Okay. So I'm just going to trim off the side. And there's the mat for that. And so I am going to end up covering a lot of this, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I will have some of it showing on the sides. I'm going to cut a strip of paper that I'd like for the top. So I think I'm probably going to do something like, going to use this one for the bottom, which I think is really sweet. And then this green for the top. And then my mat will sit up here like that. Okay. So now to do this, all I'm doing is eyeballing with I'm going to mark it out as well with a little pencil. Okay. So I need to cut this piece down. So it's going to have about 1/8 inch trim around. So I'm going to cut here and then here. So let's do that. Okay. Okay, I'm getting pretty messy. Okay, so that's going to be here. Perfect. So I can go ahead and stick this down. Okay. And then for the top, same thing. But it looks like it's the right width, which is just lucky, and I can just trim off a little bit from the top. Okay, now we can put this here. So you can see this needs to be adjusted, which is okay. Just be careful though, if you have to lift it up like I am, that you don't rip your cardstock underneath to the point where it's going to create this layer stuck to the ribbon. Okay, but I want to straighten that out. So first I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. Now that happened because I just eyeballed it, but you should use a ruler to go put your ribbon in a straight line. But as you can see, it's really not the end of the world if you have to make an adjustment. Okay, so I'm not actually too concerned about this because I'm covering most of it in a second. But I am going to just pull it down a little bit this way. Yeah. Okay. Now, because I know I'm covering this, I'm not going to add any more tape because that's fine. Okay, now I want this here. and I want it to be raised up. So I'm going to use my double-sided tape now. Okay. And if you don't have double-sided tape, you can use some chipboard about the same thickness. Okay. And you're going to get the same effect. So let's just bring this down here so everybody can see. Because in order for it not to sag, you do need to put quite a bit of this down. So I'm going to put about 5 pieces down. And I find it, I save a lot of the chipboard from the packaging that I get my papers in. And you can stack it up and make it as thick as you like. And it's like, it's amazing because you're basically using up something you would have thrown away. So I'm just going to pull the backing off here and stick this down. Okay, and now we're going to center this on here. All right, and I think that's beautiful. That's just so cute already. Okay, so now let's just talk about this side that we're putting a belly band on. Okay, so I need to put my patterned paper down on here first before I can do a belly band. So I'm going to grab a piece of patterned paper and we're going to cut it down. I think if you recall, this piece was 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. So we're going to cut our patterned paper at 7 by 7. So whatever pattern you like. So I'm just cutting over here off camera because you don't really need to see it. I just want to show you how to make the belly band. So cut down whatever patterned paper you like to 7 by 7. Okay, I'm using this Winnie the Pooh. Very cute. Okay, so we can stick that down. And you should have an 1/8 of an inch trim around the sides. Okay, and now for the belly band, you need your thick cardstock again. And you're going to cut a piece. See, and I'm checking my offshoots again. But you're going to cut a piece that is 7 by 1 1/4. Okay, so 7 by 1 1/4. So you go ahead and cut your 7 by 1 1/4 piece, and it should fit on top of the patterned paper. Okay, so 7 by 1 1/4, and then cut a patterned piece, again, any pattern you like. Okay, you're going to cut it to 6 3/4 by 1. So 6 3/4 by 1 inch for your patterned paper. And sorry, I'm not there. Here I am. I'm cutting over here. So that will just sit right on top of the belly bands. You can use whatever pattern you like. I like this brown snowflake one. So we're going to glue this on, and then we'll glue on our belly band. There you go. Okay, and now I'm going to stick the belly band right in the center here. So all you're going to do, easy, put glue or double-sided tape just on the top and the bottom. And then go ahead and stick that down in the center. And what I do is I kind of push it a tiny bit. It's very like microscopic, but just so it's not flat, and it gives me a tiny bit of space to put things underneath. Okay, so just hold that down so we don't have an unsticking again. Okay, And guys, that is pretty much it. I'm now going to finish decorating. I think I showed you the main decorating pieces. So all I'm going to do now is cover the rest of this with patterned paper and then come back and show you the whole finished thing. Okay, so I went ahead and finished the decorating like I promised, and I want to take you guys through the album. So we did this together. I decided to leave the side plain, and the back I just put this little one of the cut aparts and just stuck it down here in the back. Very simple. You could cover this with some patterned paper or cardstock. I actually ran out of patterned paper because I used it all up on the inside, but I think that still looks just as sweet. So just open this up, and first we have our first pocket in the front. So I made a couple of photo mats to put in here. Okay, and then I also you can see I used up some of the stickers. I took one of the stickers and I matted it down on the black cardstock, and then I raised this with my foam tape and I put it on top of this strip of ribbon. So I wanted to tie this ribbon back into the inside of the album as well. So all I did was then double-sided tape stick this down to the black cardstock and then put it down on top of this pocket. Okay, so that ties that together. So then we open up the album and we get the belly band. So for the belly band, again, I took one of the stickers and matted it on a couple of, on black and then on the patterned paper. And then I made this little sort of photo holder with a 3x4 card folded in half, matted down, and then matted again on some patterned paper onto the black. Okay, then on this side, I'm going to put a paper clip here to keep it down, but all I did was create some more photo mats for the pockets. And I use the stickers. These are the banner stickers, but if you stick them back to back, then you can use them as a pull tab. So I like to do that. This, again, I just left it plain. I added one more cut apart, but photos will go on these parts. Okay, and then just some stickers down here for embellishment. So we can close that up. And then we come over to the right-hand side. So I remember that when we did the tutorial, I cut a big sheet out to put on here, but then I decided I'd rather two kind of 4x6 mats because I had these 4x6 cards left over. So that's what I did here. And then again, this we did together, so we don't need to look at that too much. And then just covered the backing here with patterned paper. So I have room for photos here, back here, and of course on the photo mats, which I will tuck back into the pockets. So that's it. Very quick little album. There is space for photos, so if it opens up a little, you can see that it actually has a lot of space in there to expand and hold photos. So I hope you enjoyed that little project again. This is, I guess, my last Christmas one now, and hope you guys have a wonderful holiday, whatever your tradition, and if you celebrate Christmas, a very Merry Christmas to you and yours, and I will see you guys next with some winter projects. Have a great day. Bye-bye.